Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Leonard Clark. It is Friday, November 15th of the year 2013, and I'm broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona via YouTube. I just wanted to let you know that another really big vote with very, very little attention has taken place by what is known here in Phoenix as the Phoenix Industrial Development Authority. In effect, it's a so-called not-for-profit uh, entity that can issue out bonds, but yet must get permission from the city of Phoenix. When it does issue these bonds, it must send that for final approval over to the city of Phoenix to vote on the council, the mayor included. The Phoenix i.d.a.gov, that's their website, the Phoenix Industrial Development Authority Board, its members, from what I understand, are all appointed by the mayor. So this is what I'm reporting on. Essentially, yesterday, on Thursday, around 3:30 p.m., this Phoenix Industrial Development Authority Board voted for a $300 million bonding measure. That essentially, I've got the agenda here, and I'm going to post the link on the bottom of this so you can find it. Essentially, was for a refinery, mainly a fracking refinery in North Dakota, the state of North Dakota, 300 million. Now, many of you will do more research than I on this, but from what I've found out in the research I've been doing, the state of North Dakota, they tried to persuade their own state for this fracking refinery, and because of the very risky nature of the uh, economics of financing refineries in North Dakota for fracking, the state of North Dakota backed out on it. So our Industrial Development Authority Board sat in the meeting room, and I was there. I was the only, I believe, member from the public, except for the corporation, this huge mega corporation, and the bank people were there, that heard what they did, and that was a $300 million bond to build a fracking refinery. Up to this time, this very controversial type of refinery, they were having a hard time getting the funding for it. Many of you might not be familiar with what's going on in North Dakota, and there have been many, many spills. Many citizens there, activists there, pointing out that the government, even though they say they're regulating this, it's very apparent they're not. Methane, benzene, other carcinogens are being leaked into the air. The water is being contaminated. And I know that the pro-corporate people, and some looking very legitimate, will tell you that the water, if it's done right, the water tables are protected. And that nothing could be farther from the truth. This is really nothing less than a crime against humanity when you contaminate the water supply to get natural gas by pumping chemicals back into the ground for yourself in this generation, maybe not ourselves, and then in the future, our children to be born, not even born yet, and adults getting sick, being born with deformities. So it's not even about Democrats or Republicans, because I am sad to tell you, I am a registered Democrat, but this seems to be being pushed at the highest levels, not only of the Republican Party, but of the Democratic Party as well. The oil industry has, surprise, surprise, unfortunately, tragically, seems to have bought up many of our top Democrats. I'm not saying everybody, but this is, as you know, with Josh Fox in his documentaries Gasland 1 and Gasland 2, and his interview with Amy Goodman. I'll try to post a lot of these links for you. As you know, this is a very, very dangerous thing. It poisons our water for many future generations, all for the greed of extracting out a little bit more oil, and then the lie being stated that it helps America, when in effect it's not for our local market. It goes back into a global oil market. So it's not worth it. We're poisoning our water, and the mayor of Phoenix, Greg Stanton, and the city council, we're asking them, and we've got to be honest with you, the odds actually they are greatly against us. They just passed over 200 million, I forgot how many hundreds of millions for charter schools. And I will let you know some of the interesting things that were spoken about at this meeting. And by the way, the Phoenix Industrial Development Authority, which I consider a straw, basically a fake, like separate organization, because they have to go to the city council for final approval of their bonds. They have their headquarters in the Calvin C. Good building, and yes, maybe they're paying rent. Their members are appointed by the mayor of Phoenix. Why is the mayor doing this? Tomorrow, some of you might know they're having the Democratic State Committee meeting, and they're going to vote on a measure against the Keystone Pipeline. I would urge any of you that if you are going or know of anybody there to please let the members know that fracking is just as bad, if not worse, than a pipeline, because it's poisoning our water. The cattle, one farmer in North Dakota, on some of the links I posted, states that his cattle, after the oil soaked into the ground, were eating the grass, all of these things. So this technology is not safe to be used, and Big Oil would tell you otherwise. They're already trying to smear Mr. Josh Fox and his excellent documentaries called Gasland. So please, I ask you, we're setting up a web page. I ask you, brothers and sisters out there, to know that from this date, November 15th of the year 2013, as early as next week, maybe a little later, the City Council of Phoenix and the mayor are going to have to try to push this thing and get it through. I've also forgot to tell you some interesting tidbits about this Industrial Development Authority Board that has been appointed, many of the members, by the mayor. Before, his name being Fred Duvall, now the current Democratic nominee for governor nominee for the state of Arizona, candidate, was on this board. Now, Mr. Duvall, from what I read in mainstream media and all the different media accounts on the internet, has worked with T. Boone Pickens. They call it a PR firm, but from what I read, it works to lobby both Democrats and Republicans, and they seem to be buddies. T. Boone Pickens being the billionaire who wants natural gas, these types of things. Now, Mr. Duvall stepped down from the board. So what I and some others are wondering about now with the Phoenix Industrial Development Authority Board, the timing seems to be rather strange that this huge $300 million measure, they could have gone to many other places in the United States of America, yet they come here for their tax-free bonds, apparent tax-free bonds. We'll find out, but apparently that's what they're doing. And it just seems rather strange that Fred Duvall, who is closely associated with T. Boone Pickens, the Democratic nominee for governor, candidate for governor, has just stepped off the board. So there are some huge forces behind this, and I do ask you that if something happens to me and that I can't carry on this nonviolent struggle to stop the poisoning of our water and our air for our children that are yet to be born and for our loved ones alive now, for all of us, please don't give up this nonviolent fight against fracking, against the pollution of our air. I'm just rather saddened, and I'm hoping that the mayor of Phoenix, Mayor Greg Stanton, and the Phoenix City Council will surprise and stun all of us by voting against this and not putting the stamp of the official stamp of Phoenix, which they're going to say is not the case, but hey, they have to approve it, that we're going to poison the water supply and the air with these chemicals, benzene, the other chemicals I mentioned earlier, into the air and in the water. Because here in Arizona, in Phoenix, as some of you already know, many real estate agents, one of the first things they learn when they go to real estate school is about a whole deadly plume of water that extends outward from the Motorola Phoenix Zoo area, where the city wells of Phoenix have been capped off because they're no longer fit to be used for human consumption, to be consumed, because of the poisoning that has occurred in the groundwater supply. So we do not need to, after we've polluted our own water, and I'm not saying that this council or this Industrial Development Authority Board was responsible for that. That's been done through last 40 or 50 years. But here in the Southwest, as you know, we do have some fracking going on, not much yet, but there's talk of it maybe taking place in northeastern Arizona. we have to be very aware that big oil, big money has now found its way into both political parties. I know you're just all so surprised. This is not a time for my brothers and sisters in the Green Party and the Democratic Party, and yes, even in the Republican Party, if you want your children to have clean water, your cattle not to be poisoned by this garbage, we need to unite and to stop this. It's not worth it. It's not worth poisoning our children's water and our air just so we can selfishly get out of the earth a little bit more oil, which is not really going to us totally. It's going around the world. It's a global market. So please, I've got a group on Facebook, City of Phoenix Council, vote no on fracking. We're trying to get a web page together, and I will put the link when that's done. I understand we have so many things taking place, so many activists and brothers and sisters. I understand the election reform going on right now, which is critical to the survival of our democracy, which is in court thanks to the very courageous Pima County activists who are doing this. We have the attack of the healthcare reform law, which many of us did want single payer, but we got to start somewhere. So all these things are going on. The racial profiling, the discrimination taking place against young men and women, which we call dreamers, through no fault of their own, not being able to get driver's licenses, being charged out-of-state tuition, all these arbitrary discriminations taking place against them. So please, though, if you can, and I will try to get the number, I will post the number down here for the City of Phoenix Council and the Mayor. Please just implore them, do not vote for this $300 million fracking refinery. And they won't call it fracking, but I've recorded these things. They had their lawyer come in yesterday saying, watch out, you might be recorded. According to the Open Public Meeting Law, you can't be recorded. And someone might bring an iPhone. I was the only one with the iPhone. So I'm on their radar screen. I probably angered some people right now. But to stop a $300 million fracking refinery bond going through from the City of Phoenix, we're going to really have to let them know. I don't care if you don't like me or you do like me or whatever. If you can start a group, whatever it takes non-violently and legally, we need to persuade the Mayor of Phoenix and the Council to not vote for this. I will also try to post a photograph of the agenda. That's the other thing. The Phoenix Industrial Development Authority needs to really up their technology because they make it very hard. You have to request the agenda, whereas compared to the City of Phoenix, the agenda's online, PDF, whatever they do. I mean, these people are they've close to $500 million, at least this year it looks like, and they can't even put the agenda online. They need to find out who you are, and you have to request it from them. They don't record, from what I understand, these meetings, and they don't film them. So, and of course, the mainstream media here in Phoenix, I'm trying to persuade them, but nobody's paying attention. Gee, I wonder why. $500 million, $300 million up to for a fracking refinery to poison another state. This is not what the Industrial Development Authority bonds are designed for. They were designed to help Americans and people in our country, but by poisoning them, no. It is immoral, and it would be, to me, an indirect crime against humanity if the Mayor of Phoenix and the Council vote for this. I just ask them, please. It's not a Democratic thing. It's not a Republican thing. It's called, we don't want to poison our water for our children to drink. And we shouldn't do that to our fellow Americans, brothers and sisters, fellow human beings in North Dakota. Please, call the City of Phoenix Council. Spread the word. And if you're going to the State Democratic Committee meeting tomorrow in the city of Maricopa, please ask Mr. Fred Duvall to back out of his support for fracking with T. Boone's Pickens. And if you see Mayor Stanton there or any of the council members, please ask them to not vote in favor of this $300 million fracking bond. Let's work together. Maybe we can persuade them not to do this. Thank you.